In the volatile political climate of late 1847 Europe, an underground secret society called the Communist League needed a statement of purpose. They commissioned two young radical thinkers to write it, one of whom was 29-year-old Karl Marx. The society originally requested a standard confession of faith, a religious-style Q&A document. But Marx's collaborator, Friedrich Engels, wrote a letter proposing they abandon that format entirely. Engels suggested they write a historical narrative instead. They would author a manifesto that traced the evolution of human society to explain exactly how the modern world came to be. Many people today view the resulting text as a list of moral complaints about rich people or a passionate, emotional rant against inequality. In reality, the Communist Manifesto is a cold, mechanical theory of history. It argues that human society is an engine driven entirely by class struggle, and that capitalism is mathematically programmed to destroy itself. To see how this self-destruct sequence works, we have to look at the death of the old world. The medieval feudal system of lords and serfs finally collapsed when the discovery of the Americas opened vast new markets across the globe. A highly efficient new ruling class emerged from this global shift, the bourgeoisie, otherwise known as modern capitalists. Marx and Engels actually praised this new class, noting that the bourgeoisie accomplished historical wonders, surpassing the Egyptian pyramids, Roman aqueducts, and Gothic cathedrals. But to build those wonders, this class dismantled the old world. They replaced traditional, idyllic feudal relationships with naked self-interest and a calculating global market. By its very nature, the bourgeoisie functions as an unstoppable historical engine, a system that requires constant, disruptive revolution to keep running. A fatal flaw exists in this machine. To survive, the capitalist engine requires infinite, constant growth and the continual expansion of markets. As production capacity scales, it breaches consumer demand, triggering a crash of overproduction. Society starves because there is too much industry. The system destroys its wealth to reset the scales. The text describes the modern bourgeoisie as a sorcerer who is no longer able to control the powers of the netherworld he has called up by his spells. To survive these panics, capitalism is forced to find new markets and exploit old ones more aggressively. Mathematically, this cycle paves the way for larger, more destructive crashes. This constantly expanding machine requires human fuel, the modern working class, or the proletariat. The manifesto defines these workers as literal commodities. As industry advances and work becomes automated, the worker becomes a simple, monotonous appendage of the machine. In their quest for efficiency, the bourgeoisie sets a trap for themselves. They crowd massive numbers of these workers together into cavernous factories, organizing them like soldiers. Tools built by capitalism, like railways and the telegraph, allow these concentrated masses to communicate across borders. Scattered local riots merge into a national struggle between two distinct classes. By expanding industry and forcing workers together, the bourgeoisie inadvertently arms, organizes, and unites a body capable of overthrowing them. They produce their own gravediggers. If the working class is the army destined to overthrow this system, we have to look at their objective. Chapter 2 of the text outlines the Communist Party's actual goals. The authors clarify that communists do not want to take away personal, hard-earned property, like the fruit of an artisan's or a peasant's own labor. Instead, they demand the abolition of bourgeois private property, wealth used specifically to monopolize resources and exploit the labor of others. The text lists a 10-point plan to achieve this. While some measures were radical in 1848, others are recognizable today, including a heavy progressive income tax and free public education for all children. These demands remove the mechanism of capitalist exploitation so that class distinctions can vanish. The result is an association where the free development of each individual is the condition for the free development of all. The pamphlet was published in February 1848, coinciding with a series of bloody uprisings across Europe. Marx and Engels treated the document as a living, iterative strategy rather than a static prophecy. Over the next 40 years, they wrote new prefaces to constantly update their theories based on real-world events. Following the Paris Commune of 1871, they realized the working class could not simply take over the existing state machinery and use it for their own purposes. They tracked the global expansion of capitalism, eyeing the industrial rise of the United States and the massive rural populations of Russia as the next battlegrounds. A hurried 23-page pamphlet for a secret society evolved into a global framework for political action. It mapped the mechanics of a world system, closing with its final, enduring command: working men of all countries, unite.